This is the Sowinski Park in the Wola district to the west of Warsaw. It's named after this gentleman up here, Józef Sowiński, who died in September 1831 fighting the Russians. This park dates to 1936. It was built on the orders of the mayor Stefan Starzyński, who later was to be murdered by the Nazis. It was the first park in Warsaw, I think, that was opened after Poland became independent. This was an area of working class area. Wola was built largely during the 19th century as a place thanks to the growth of the railway lines, and this encouraged industrial development. In fact, on this very park's built up of three things in particular. There was a Tsarist fortification that was over here. Also there were brickworks and a clay pit, and it was built up from using all three of these things. Now, during the battles for Warsaw in 1939, there was a fort in this area, an old Tsarist fortification. We can still see some of the ramparts for it today, and that held up the tanks from the 9th until the 27th of September, I think it was. And this being here, the road which is just down there, that is one of the main arteries into Warsaw. Also, being the main artery into Warsaw, it brought about death and destruction in a terrible way during the Warsaw insurrection. 1st of August 1944, there was the revolt in Warsaw trying to overthrow the Nazi regime, which had been here for almost 5 years. 5 years of terror in the Polish capital. But what happened was the Hitler passed orders to Himmler to destroy everything and everybody, and those that were destroying everything, everybody, collected in Poznan, sent here, and then there was this march through the district of Wola to start off with, and then until they got to the centre of Warsaw. Here we have a monument which recalls what actually happened here. Some 1,500 people were shot in this area, in this park. So from a new park built in 1936 for the working class inhabitants of Wola, which provided them with such things as a children's playground, amphitheatre, activities like we were today even, and we can still see that there was some type of fete going on here. And well, so the toilets are still here indeed. From this sort of a area for the use by people, a popular area, and then it became a place of mass destruction of people. And the reason that they were killed was because they were Polish. They just killed everybody, the Nazis. They didn't care if they were fighters or not. Indeed, with the case of Direlwanger, it's clear that these renegade units made up of largely from Soviet citizens, Russians and others, they preferred to just to kill unarmed civilians than to fight armed rebels. Indeed, the armed rebels weren't armed particularly well. Very little in the way of weapons and ammunition for that. Some 6,000 bodies were burned here, according to the sign that we have there. 6,000 people who were murdered in their houses, told to come out of the houses, shot outside in the street, some hospitals where they just killed everybody, bodies brought here, and then they were burnt at this location. Now, there's another thing as well from the terror point of view. We see the photograph, you can see the statue there. There's a photograph with a 600 millimeter cannon, the Karl-Gerät. There was only 7 of them built during the Second World War, and it stood somewhere around here, and that's judging by the photograph. This then fired shells weighing approximately 2,170 kilos, which could make a 15-kilometer crater and a 15-meter crater, and with a depth of up to 5 meters, depending on what it was that they actually hit when they landed. Some of the shells were duds, as it turned out, because there's even photographs of Home Army sappers they're making them safe. And so that was based here, and there was only 7 of these things were actually manufactured, and 4 of them were sent to Warsaw. The first one arrived during the second week of the uprising. More were sent later, but there wasn't 4 here at the same time, because there was problems with the barrel with the first one. I'll do a separate video on that later. So to give you a little bit of more of a look around what we have here in this park. I lived in Warsaw for about 12 years in total, something like that. This is the first time I've ever actually been here. Now, at the moment I'm preparing videos related to the Warsaw Uprising, and it'll be the 80th anniversary this year, so I'm doing this, it's now June 2024. Hopefully I'll get some of these up before the uprising anniversary, and I'll try and do more. Now, I've noticed there's quite a lot of things on the internet about the uprising itself. There's very little on the slaughter of the inhabitants of Wola that's historically based. There's 1 or 2 things which are propaganda, but there's not much which is historically based. I'd have to also say, when I read Norman Davies' book on the uprising, which was brought out, I think it was brought out in 2003, I read in 2004, and he put in to describe the beginning of the slaughter, and it's above all the days, the 5th and 6th of August, which were where the slaughter was the most intense. He put in 1 paragraph about it, and I thought that more was actually needed. So that's what I'm trying to do now. I've done little films like this one showing where these terrible events actually took place. And there's also, I'm doing some of the criminals responsible. Above all, there's one, Heinz Reinefarth, who absolutely got away with it scot-free. In fact, he later became the mayor of the island of Sylt in West Germany. So I'll do a separate video on him, and on Direlwanger, Oskar Direlwanger, and also Kaminski as well, who was a Russian. And many of those that put down the Warsaw Uprising were not Germans, but they were Soviet citizens. Same Soviet citizens which today, with the regime in Moscow, which sees these people as heroes. So I hope you found that interesting. Thanks very much for watching, and all the best from me in the Wola district of Warsaw, Poland.